This tutorial will teach you how to create a basic quiz using Google Forms. This is a great way to start integrating the online classroom idea into your own classroom. Right? For the Google Forms, when you create a quiz, you will end up with something that looks like this. You have several different question style options. They do have a multiple choice question style, the short answer, the paragraph, which is great for essays, checkbox questions, drop down questions, go like that. A linear scale question, these are great for when you're wanting to know somebody's opinion on something. And a grid question, great for matching questions. We will be using Google Forms, so I do recommend that you use Google Chrome to create your quiz. When you open up Google Chrome, you'll notice up here in the left-hand corner, you have an Apps button. Go ahead and click on that. When you click on that, you should have several apps listed here. We're going to use Google Forms. It's this purple document tab right here. If you do not have this on your apps page, all you have to do is go to the web store right here and do a search for Google Forms and add it to your apps. And then once you do that, you come back to the screen and you'll click on Google Forms. Once you're in Google Forms, you'll see where I've already created several other forms. And up here, you'll see where you have several templates that you could use for creating different forms. Underneath, start a new form. These are templates that to make your life easier, they are already set up for you. But for the purposes of this activity, we will be using the blank form. Once you have started your new form, you will see a page that looks like this. In the top left corner next to the arrow, it states Untitled Form. This is simply the name of your file. Go ahead and rename your file to the title of the test by clicking on it and typing in the test name. This will also update the title of the test in the middle of the page, right here. Notice next to the file name, Google Forms tells you that it is automatically saving your form. This is a handy dandy little feature that can save you a lot of time and frustration when your computer suddenly loses its mind and crashes. Now, in the middle of the screen, underneath the title, Google Form asks for a form description. Right here, you can add instructions for your test or a subheading for your test. It is up to you. I hope if I type correctly. A blank form always begins with one multiple choice question by default. When you click on here, you'll see you have question and you have option 1 and add option. Over here, if you click on multiple choice, you will see several other question options, which we will get to. For now, let's start with our basic multiple choice question. You can type your test question in the field where it states Untitled Question, just like you would if you were creating this in Word. Underneath your question, you will type your answer choices. You can add as many answer choices as you need. So I'll type in wrong answer choice because we know we like to keep it crazy for the kids. Right answer choice. And just some awesome answer choices. Now, this does not tell that it's a key. Google Forms at this point does not know which of these is the correct answer. That will come in a later tutorial. Once you have your answer choices in, do you want to require your students to answer this question? If so, if you look here at the bottom right of the question, right here it says required, and there's this little slide. Simply click on that slide. Once it changes the color and colorful, that means your students will have to answer the question before they can submit it. If you want them to have the option of leaving the question blank, just leave the required option gray. Now let's say, oops, I put those in the wrong order. Really simple fix. You don't have to go retype everything. If you'll hold your mouse over this question, notice these little dots appear next to the answer. All you have to do is click on that and hold your mouse down and then drag it to wherever you want it to be and then let it go. Now, let's say oops again. I really don't like that choice. So I'll go over here to where it says the X, click it, and it's gone. Done. Next, we'll add a short answer question. The short answer question gives a very, well, short field for students to type their answers in, and it will look similar to this. Notice that the text box never gets bigger as it types. Students can type a great deal into it, but they will not be able to see it all at once as it moves across the screen. Because of this, this type is best for questions that require answers that are no bigger than this text box, like the student's name, email address, etc., etc. Now, look to the right of your form, and you will see a vertical bar with several buttons. Hold your mouse over each button, and Forms will tell you what each button is for. You can go through and play with these at your leisure later on. All right, we want to add a question, so let's click on the top button with the plus sign. Forms will always add a new multiple choice question by default. We want to create a short answer question for our students, so click on the gray multiple choice box. The different types of questions will again pop up. The first choice is short answer. Click on that. You will now see the short answer question field. Type in your question again, just as you would if you were typing this into Word. Or you could also use this for your students' names. Now notice down here below the question, you can see gray text stating short answer text. You cannot type here. This is meant to be a placeholder for the text box for your students. Then decide whether you wish this to be a required question and move on. Oh, golly gosh darn, we messed up again. I actually wanted this question to go first. Well, that's okay. Google Forms makes this an easy fix too, thank goodness. You select the question you want to move. You'll see those 6 dots again, this time at the top of the question box. Grab those dots with your mouse and, keeping your mouse held down, drag your question to where you wanted it and let it go. Whew, time saved. Now, I just noticed that I accidentally added another question. If you do this, super easy. You see this little trash can right here? Once you have the question you don't want selected, trash it. Click that delete button and it's gone. Make sure you don't delete something that you wanted to keep, because once you delete it, if you miss that undo box that was there, it's gone. Let's add another new question. Click on the plus sign button to the right. Again, Google Forms will create a multiple choice question by default, so click on the gray multiple choice box. This time, let's create a paragraph question. So click on paragraph. This will create a question that looks something like this. The paragraph question is great for essays or open-ended questions, as the text box will expand as your students write in it, as you can see I'm doing here. The form for the paragraph question is very similar to the short answer question. Where you see question, type in your open-ended or essay question. You will see below the question field here, long answer text in gray font. If you click on it, as I'm doing now, nothing will happen. Again, this is just a placeholder for the text box for your student's answer. Decide whether you want the question to be required, and you can begin creating your next question. Create a new question again by clicking on the plus sign to the right, and then click on the gray multiple choice box. Of the question formats left, we have checkboxes, drop down, linear scale, and multiple choice grid. If you look at these examples, this right here is a checkbox question. It is set up just like a multiple choice question, except that students can select multiple answers, whereas on just the multiple choice question, they can only select one. A drop-down question is also set up very similarly to the multiple choice question. Students can choose only one option, but it looks different as you can see here. Instead of having them all laid out, they had to click on the drop-down menu. This question format is better suited to very short 1 to 2 word answer choices. This is the linear scale question format. This is best for ascertaining a person's opinion on something, like the surveys most of us have taken to ask us how strongly we agree or disagree with something. This type of question does not necessarily adapt well to the traditional quiz and test questions that are looking for specific answers, but you are welcome to play with it. The last question type is the multiple choice grid question. This format lends itself beautifully to matching questions. Let's say you wanted your students to match vocabulary words to their definitions. You can see here on the left, the space for the questions has more room, so you would type the definitions here. Along the top, you could type in the vocabulary words, since this is best for shorter text. Let's go ahead and create this type of question in our test. So go ahead and click multiple choice grid. Again, you will see a space labeled question. This would be a great place to include instructions specific to this matching question. Under this will be where you put your questions and choices. The fields labeled row here on the left are where you will type in your longer text, like definitions. So for example, I'll type in some mythology questions. Then I'll come down here to row 2, add option. And row 3, add option. And you can keep going for as many rows as you need. Now, the fields labeled column to the right are where you would type in your shorter text, like vocabulary words. These are the words that they would choose from for their answers. You can add as many rows and as many columns as you need, but for the sake of your students' sanity, I would recommend no more than 10 per grid. Now, helpful little hint. Let's say you want to create another question similar to this, but you don't want to type all the same information again. Again, Google Forms loves to make your life easy. You can duplicate it. Select the question you want to duplicate by clicking on it. You will see underneath your question the symbol that looks like 2 pages back to back. Hold your mouse over that and Forms will tell you, duplicate. Click on the duplicate button. You now have 2 copies of the same question. Just change the text as needed and you have a new question. You can create as many questions of each type as you need for your test. The sky is the limit. Now that you have created the questions, you have a couple more steps to get this test ready for your students' eyes. Direct your attention to the top right of your screen. Here you will see a painting palette, an eye, a gear, and send. Click on the painting palette, and Forms will give you a color palette. Select the color you wish your test to be. I'm rather partial to orange, so I'm going to make my test orange. And of course, you can change it as needed. The eye allows you to see how your test will look to your students. Clicking on the eye will open a preview and a new tab in Chrome. You can scroll through the window to check out your test. To go back to the editing screen, simply go up to the top of your Chrome window, see these folder tabs, click on the first tab, and we're back to our editing screen. Now come back to the top right corner and click on the gear. This will open up the settings screen. If you are logged into your myhisd.net account, you will see a screen that looks like this. So up here at the top, it says who can respond. And if you click on the drop-down menu, you have 2 options, anyone and anyone in Harlandale ISD. Harlandale ISD means that they must be logged into their Harlandale account, the myhisd.net account, to be able to view this test. Because this is a test for your students, I would recommend that you leave this as anyone at Harlandale ISD. Your students do have myhisd.net accounts as well, so they will be able to access this test as long as they are logged in. If you leave it set up this way, then you can check here, automatically collect respondents' Harlandale ISD username, and Forms will tell you the name of each student who took the test automatically. Right here, can submit only one response. If you want students to be able to retake this test, then leave this box unchecked. Otherwise, they will not be able to go back and retake it if they don't get a grade that is acceptable. Here, underneath confirmation page, you can change the message students will see once they submit their test. Forms gives you the option to allow your students to try again, in which case you can set it up to give them the link to submit another response. In that case, simply leave this box checked. Edit their response means that they will be able to go back into their original answers and change them. See summary of responses means that they will be able to see everyone else's answers. Depending on the type of test, this may or may not be a good idea. If you would like to randomize the questions, like when you give different versions of the same test in class, then scroll down a bit here and check the box at the very bottom that says Shuffle Question Order. Once you have everything in settings set up the way that you like, come down here to the bottom right and click Save. And congratulations, you have now created your first test in Google Forms. Yay! For instructions on how to give your students access to this test and on how to grade this test, please see the next tutorials.